How many times has this happened to you? That somebody objects to what you're doing, but it's not obviously wrong. It's not illegal, certainly. So instead of like saying, you know, what you're doing is wrong or whatever, they try to shame you. They try to use guilt to make you to stop doing what they don't want you to be doing. How many times does that happen to you? It never happens to me. Oh yeah, it never happens to me because most people who know me know that I'm shameless. I could give a shit what other people say. Oh yeah. And so like when people say, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself, I'm like, okay, fine, and just keep on doing what I'm doing. I could give a fuck, right? But I recognize that shame and guilt tripping people is a powerful thing, a powerful emotion. It's a powerful emotion, and it is effective. If it weren't effective, people wouldn't do it, now would they? Of course not. They do it because it works. And so what you have to do is very simple. And the rest of this video is going to be superfluous, because all you have to do is just grit your teeth and ignore them. That's what you do. That's how you fight shame and guilt and those efforts by those bastards who don't like what you're doing to not do what you're doing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, because these bastards are just trying to control you. I mean, ultimately, that's what shame and guilt are about. They're mechanisms of control, okay? Of social control. And they make a lot of sense, okay? I mean, it's not that we are hardwired with the notion of guilt and shame for no clear reason. No, because we need it because throughout history, we as a society, as a species rather, have needed guilt and shame to keep us in line so that our entire society works, okay? Because we want to have an orderly society. The fact of the matter is, those societies, or let me phrase that, those people, those human beings who have been able to build structured societies based on shame and guilt have succeeded. They've had more children, more progeny, and so natural selection has been at play. There is a reason that it exists, okay? And to be bitching and moaning about it and complaining, it serves no useful purpose. That's the way it is. You are hardwired with shame. You are hardwired with guilt because you are the descendant of people who lived under the aegis of shame and guilt, okay? That's how it is. But see, just because it is a weakness, because it is, doesn't mean that you should allow yourself to be ruled by it or controlled by it. You see what I'm saying? Because there are times when you will feel shame and guilt, and you should. There are times when you will have done things that are wrong, and you will feel shame, and you will feel guilt. And that is as it should be. And if you can correct those wrongs, and alleviate these feelings of shame and guilt, well, more power to you, right? But for the most part, in the society that we live in today, our modern society, this wonderful civilization that we've built, right? You see, shame and guilt are not really necessary anymore because there are all these laws that codify our behavior. They codify them in such a way that you know exactly what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And because you know, because of the law, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, see, shame and guilt only enter in those gray areas of social interaction. They enter in these gray areas of social interaction that do not really cause anybody any harm. See, because if they did cause harm, there'd be a law about it. There'd be a law prohibiting it, right? But if there's no law about it, and the people who object to what you're doing can only turn to the use of shame and guilt, well, then it means that what you are doing is not wrong. It's just that they don't like it. That's why they're trying to shame and guilt trip you. You see? Yeah, because nobody ever shamed or guilt tripped somebody for doing something that they wanted, right? Yeah, I mean, if I want you to, do something for me, I'm not going to, after the fact, start shaming you and guilt tripping you about it, right? Right. I'm only going to shame you or guilt trip you if you're doing something that bothers me or goes against my best interests or what I think should be the right way of the world. You see what I mean? And so those people who are using shame, those people who are using guilt against you, see, they are doing it out of selfish desires. They are selfish desires or their own hang-ups. They don't give a shit about you per se. They just don't like what you're doing because it goes against their interests. So that's why you should ignore them. Oh yeah, somebody tries to shame you or guilt trip you into something, just blow them off. I mean, I know that you're going to feel this itch in your soul when somebody guilt trips you, when they say that, oh, you're doing something bad or something creepy or cringy or whatever the fuck. When they try to guilt trip you or shame you, you're going to feel icky inside. Yes, of course. Well, you just have to power through that feeling. See what I'm saying? What do I tell you guys? I always tell you that the difference between men and everybody else, even women, even most men, is the fact that men can control their emotions, set them aside so that they can use their reason, their logic, their acquired knowledge and their experience to do those things that are for their best interest, right? Yeah. So if somebody makes you or tries to make you feel guilty or ashamed, what you have to do is just control that emotion. Grab it, tie it up, set it aside, and do what you wanted to do. That's what I do. Yeah, because when somebody tries to shame me or guilt trip me, yeah, of course, there is a twinge. Even now, after decades of just blowing off people who try to shame and guilt trip me, yeah, there is a little twinge. I'm not going to lie. But that twinge is practically gone because I know the motivation of the people who are trying to shame me and guilt trip me. I recognize that. See? And once you realize that they are trying to guilt you and shame you out of selfish reasons, then it becomes easy. Then it becomes just supremely easy. So just blow them off. Just blow them off. Whatever the fuck they are telling you, just blow them off and ignore them. They are just trying to control you. The more you understand that, the more you internalize this lesson of what is shame and what is guilt in our contemporary civilization, then the more you understand that it is just a mechanism of control by small people who do not like what you are doing. And the fact of the matter is, if they are trying to guilt trip you and shame you into not doing what you're doing, then whatever it is you're doing, it's probably the right thing.